Welcome to the Speech Source Podcast. My name is Mary Brazique.
And I'm Kim Dillon. We are two pediatric speech-language pathologists with a combined 25 years of experience.
We are your source for speech, language, feeding, play, and much more in between.
Welcome to episode 1 of the Speech Source Podcast. We are so excited to be here and introducing our podcast. And today, Mary and I just wanted to talk a little bit about who we are and why we decided to start this podcast. So, Mary, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm so excited that we're getting started and getting this first episode out, that we can introduce ourselves a little bit before we dive into all the cool topics that we have planned. So a little bit about me. I am a Fort Worth native. I was actually born in Dallas, but I have lived here most of my life, and then went to Baylor for undergrad, UT Dallas, where I got my master's for speech pathology. And then my husband and I returned back to Fort Worth, and we have 2 children and one on the way. So we are
exciting.
Yes, we're very excited about that. And really, we just, as a family, we love family time, and we love spending time with our kids and really engaging them in the community. And I think that's part of why all this happened, Kim, is that we both shared that love for family, and just being able to show them all the cool things that we can teach them in the world about play and community and language. And it just really went hand in hand with our profession, with speech pathology. So
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I grew up in the area also, and also kind of figuring that we're going to settle here, and we love Fort Worth and the community. And there are just so many different resources and opportunities in our community. And I think that's how you and I started talking about just tapping into that and somehow figuring out a way to collaborate on all these different things that our community has to offer, which is exciting. But
Yes.
yes, just like you, I grew up in the area. I went to Texas A&M for undergraduate and came back up here to the University of North Texas to get my master's in speech pathology. And my husband, Levi, and I have 4 kids. They range in ages from 4 to 13, and we definitely stay busy with them, mostly with just sports and school activities. And we really do like to try to travel whenever we can.
So I think really when Kim and I started talking about starting this podcast, we really didn't even know that wanted a podcast was the platform we wanted. We just kept having these ongoing conversations that ran along the same lines every single time. And that was, what is going on in our community with our kids? How can we help them better? How can we reach more people? How can we really educate parents so that they can have the power and the resources to be able to give their kids everything that they want to? Because I think there are so many parents out there that want to give their kids the best, and sometimes it's so hard to find what the best is, or what do you need, or what should you even be looking for. And we just kept talking about really the during and aftermath of the pandemic, and what a change kind of happened with families, and wanted to do something about that. Yeah, Kim,
And I
am I
think,
saying that
Mary,
right?
yeah, and I think also we talked a lot about, we see kids sometimes we're the first ones that see them after the pediatrician, and they're young, but if they're not eating well or if they're not talking well, we're sometimes the first people that they're referred to. And then along that journey, we are also having conversations with different providers, whether it be pediatricians or dentists or ENTs, or there's such a variety. Sometimes these just seem so individual, but just that idea, if we could kind of help collaborate all these different providers also, just to kind of help a family figure out the best way to move along. That's always an ongoing conversation. Speech is really broad, and that will definitely be a podcast in its own. But, we have articulation and language, fluency, voice, feeding, swallowing. There's so many different areas of speech. So we do have different provider contacts that it's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think too, parents don't always realize that they're all related. So
Right.
people think, oh, that's random. You do feeding too, and you do S's and Z's, but actually they're so related. And the
Hmm.
play skills, that's foundation for everything. So yeah, you're right, Kim, that we've found that really speech pathologists, we are so developmental in kind of what we've learned from grad school and then working with kids, but we cross those bridges both to the medical side for our pediatricians and ENTs and all those medical providers. And we also bridge that educational side of, okay, how does this functionally translate to the classroom? And
Right.
so it's a really, I mean, that's why we want to talk about it. It's a really cool area and it's very applicable to parenting and how do you navigate all the needs that your child may have on the medical or educational side or developmental, and how do we put it all together? How do we teach parents ultimately to put these things in practice themselves, to
Yes.
really
And
charge
you've
them with
talked,
that?
Mary, you gave that great example when we were talking before about almost the idea of preventative medicine and
Mhm.
how, like, from birth, can we start implementing some of these purposeful play skills and just these activities that can enforce natural language development and good eating habits, and some things that we can talk about on here that can give parents those resources and that power to kind of get ahead of, before needing speech therapy or some other services.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think the world looks so different now than it was even for our parents or for maybe our role models, the people that we're looking up to. There's maybe some parents didn't have a role model of how they're trying to um, kind of model after. We have a lot of parents who have a child with special needs or they need extra support, and no one else in the family has ever been through that before. So there are a lot of different reasons why you might seek out a speech pathologist or like this, a podcast with some resources to help you have a community or have ideas of, like you said, preventative medicine. How do we do this from the start, and especially if we don't really know the way? So hopefully we
Right.
can talk about that road a little bit.
Yes. And I just love that idea of constant collaboration, because if there's anything I've learned from, this field, is how different every kid is
Mhm.
and their needs are different. And so, you have this guideline that you try to loosely follow, but the more you can understand about all of the different resources that you have available for the family and for that child, to make it very specific in what that child needs. And so I think just making sure we can all be collaborating and understanding that every child needs something different sometimes, and it's
Mhm.
not always going to be the exact same fit. Um, and that really just happens when everybody can communicate and listen
Mhm.
also.
Mhm. Oh yes. Yes. Yeah, we always say that even though we may be experts in child development, speech pathology, feeding, a parent is always the expert in their own child. They
Yes,
always know them
exactly.
best. And so we're going to all work together the best if we can combine those two kind of knowledge areas and put it together, because really, hopefully, this podcast will be able to educate parents and provide, yeah, parents, providers, professionals with all the information that we have or that we can share, so that ultimately you can apply it to your individual child, because that critical thinking step or critical application is going to be key to making changes in your child, but you can't do that without having all the resources available to you that you may need.
Yes. And also, like you said, with everything changing since the pandemic, and I think just in general, research is always changing. And
Mhm.
even developmental norms we've seen lately, those things are changing. And so to understand how to do that research and how to find out what's best for your child, that's a skill in itself, is that you can't always just learn one thing and go with that forever. You have to be open and willing to grow and change and learn. So we hope that we can provide some of those resources and just concepts and ideas on how to get that information out to everyone.
Yeah, and then we also have come up with several different freebies already of again, our purpose is really to educate and empower and collaborate. So we want to just provide anything and everything to people who are willing to listen and get more information. So we'll have all of those free resources about different things from developmental milestones to maybe um, toy links and
Yeah,
games
we are going to
or
talk about our favorite toys and our favorite books and our favorite games and try to
hmm
just give some ideas to do at home. And we've also talked about bringing on different parents who have had certain experiences to give their thoughts and their input. And hopefully, I mean, like you said, Mary, parents are a huge resource for other parents, and for
hmm
us a lot also. And so
hmm
being able to bring on some other parents and some other providers to just give us more information.
Yeah. Yeah. So we hope you'll listen in and you'll check out our Instagram and our website for all the information that you can and that we can provide. And we look forward to starting up these conversations.
Yes, we're excited to share all of the ideas and topics that we've come up with. So looking forward to it. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast and check out our website, thespeechsource.com.
Also, check us out on Instagram for more ideas on speech, language, feeding, and play.